So you want to make the characters in your story more layered? Here are 5 ways to do that. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens, and this is Carly Stevens Books for all things writing, publishing, and indie author life. So there are lots and lots of ways to write compelling characters, and great characters are some of the most important aspects of story. They're the ones that stick with us and feel more like real people than like fictional characters. So if you're struggling to make your characters feel alive like that, here are some things that you can try. If one thing doesn't really work for you, you can try the next one, and so on. And I trust that if you use these tips and tricks, that your characters will become more layered over time. So number 1 is micro-flashbacks or references. These are not complete flashbacks where you pause the action and go to another, actual flashback, which is something that I did a lot in Laertes, a Hamlet retelling. This one has a lot of actual flashbacks where they're like their own little scenes. What I'm talking about is not that so much as a passing reference to something that happened before. This idea of micro flashbacks is not original to me. I actually got the idea from Writing Excuses, which is an excellent podcast. It's only 15 to 20 minutes long, featuring the likes of Brandon Sanderson, Mary Robinette Kowal, Dan Wells, and others as they break down one small element of writing or publishing or indie author life. For most of them, it's not so much indie author life, but just the life of an author. In any case, so what is a micro flashback or reference really? It can look a lot of different ways. It can look like a comment, like, oh, this is just like the last time you got dragged by a runaway horse. Amazing that it happened twice. But I wanted to give you an example from Artemis by Andy Weir. All of the examples I'm going to use today are from a variety of genres, so you can see that creating layered characters can be done in a variety of styles, age ranges, etc. Right at the very beginning, we start meeting some of Jazz's people, the main character here. So she is told to get in line with the other porters instead of cutting the line to get what she needs done. So get in line with the other porters. Come on, Mr. N, I wheedled. I've been waiting on this shipment for weeks. We talked about this. Did you transfer payment? Did you stamp the package? He maintained eye contact and reached under the table. He pulled out a still sealed box and slid it toward me. I don't see a stamp, I said. Do we have to do things this way every damn time? We used to be so close. What happened? You grew up and became an underhanded pain. You had so much potential, and you pissed it away. So we don't get the whole story here, but there is a lot of, in a variety of passing references in this short conversation, lightly edited for this channel. But yes, we know that not only is Jazz a porter who has known this person for a very long time, but also they used to be close. They have sort of a bantering relationship, but now that she's all grown up, she's become maybe criminal, maybe sneaky in some way, and then we just have to keep on reading to see if any of those mysteries are solved. Those references are explained. Micro flashbacks and references do not need to be explained. You can just say, this is just like the time with the cinnamon roll, and you don't need to explain about that time with the cinnamon roll. But if you give a little bit more than that, then you can get a sense of the character as somebody who's existed before this story, who will hopefully exist after this story, and who has a whole lifetime worth of memories, and you can start to get to know them that way, just like you would an actual person through those micro flashbacks or references. All right, the next one, number 2, is what I call 10 facts. This is also something that I picked up, I think, from Writing Excuses. The rest of them are not so much, but this one is great if you have a character who, you need to get to know more, but you don't want to necessarily fill out one of those questionnaires. Maybe it doesn't feel quite right for your story to say like, well, what's their height, what's their age, what's their favorite food. Those aren't bad questions actually, but this 10 facts method is to literally sit down and write down 10 random facts about that character that may or may not even show up in the story. So while I was writing the Tanyuan Academy series, it's a trilogy, this is the big old omnibus that you can get, I felt like I really knew a handful of characters, but there was a really important one, one of the main characters, Firian's roommate, who I knew was going to feature really prominently, that I wanted to get to know better. Like, I knew certain things about him and I kept talking about those things, but I thought, no, he's got a lot more to him. So what is it that I can add to his character so that I know him on this deeper level, so that he has more layers? And so I used this method. I just wrote down 10 facts about him. You know, he's good at jumping, you know, he enjoys swimming. He, you know, really enjoys eating cinnamon bread, just really random stuff. And I ended up using quite a lot of it just in passing because I felt like I knew him and I just had more information to draw from. This seems extremely elementary because it is, but it's amazing how much more depth it gives to the character if you just have extra facts in the back of your mind that you know about them. So give it a shot, see what you think. I've done taught at a conference about how to create realistic characters and things like that, and I did a sort of interactive you know, character creation portion of the lesson, and I asked for some micro-flashbacks and 10 random facts, and the character got like fleshed out before all of our eyes. It was incredible. So yeah, check it out, see what you think. All right, next is add contradictions. Something that is not super prevalent in fiction, but is absolutely prevalent in life, are contradictory traits. You can be both smart and stupid. You can be both compassionate and selfish. You can be all these things kind of at once, or, you know, flip back and forth, or maybe in different ways you're both one and the other. So I can think of nobody who does this better than Dostoevsky, Fyodor Dostoevsky, the Russian novelist of Crime and Punishment. My English teacher is showing. But if you want a master class in how to write characters, especially ones with contradictory emotions and traits and strengths and weaknesses, then look at Crime and Punishment and Raskolnikov. Rodin Romanovich Raskolnikov is the main character of Crime and Punishment. He commits a horrible crime at the beginning of the story. So we know that he is violent, we know that he is selfish, we know that he's many, many bad things, but he has moments of like compulsive compassion as well that may or may not have, you know, ulterior motives, but he has these moments of compassion. We see him feel guilty for what he's done and proud of what he's done at the same time. We see him be, you know, love his family and hate his family at the same time. It's a very toxic situation with Raskolnikov, but man, does he feel like a real person more than most characters feel like real people. So don't be afraid to have these contradictory traits coexisting in the same person. Raskolnikov is brilliant and he's an idiot. And you can see that all play out in this one story. So having contradictory traits for the same person is not, if you do it well, is not going to come across as an inconsistent character. It's going to come across as a more layered character. Number 4 is consider their people. So it's tempting, it's easy to have characters seem to appear spontaneously in your story, and the only people that they interact with or care about are the other people in the story. I know that I've been guilty of this. If I'm just trying to write something really quickly, it's like, well, who are their friends? Who are their family? Who are their acquaintances and coworkers and people that they might know or miss or reach out to from time to time? So the relationships that characters have with their friends, their family, their coworkers, etc., will tell us a huge amount about those people. Bonus points if there is some contradictory feeling there as well. Somebody who does this very, very well is Emily Henry in Book Lovers, which is one of my favorite contemporary romances. Nora, the main character, is basically that person in a rom-com that gets left because she is too business focused and she's this ice queen, you know, she is gonna chug a cold brew on a Peloton and that's her whole breakfast, and she's gonna, you know, make deals and rip people off, you know. So she's that kind of person. We're introduced page 1 that she's like that. But she has this extremely soft spot for her sister Libby, who is pregnant, who is moving away, and she regrets the distance that has started to form between herself and Libby, and she can't quite put her finger on why that might be, but she thinks, you know, maybe it has something to do with these Ice Queen tendencies. She doesn't want to change exactly, but she also really wants to repair that relationship with her much softer seeming sister. So you might have thought I would talk about the relationship with Charlie, the love interest, and that is layered too. But something that I love about this book in particular is that the you know, what would normally be like the B plot, her relationship with her sister, that I often wouldn't care about in a romance because I'm here for the romance, is just as important and compelling because we see those layers of relationship and kind of how that ebbs and flows. So yes, consider the family dynamics, consider other friends that the characters might have had or still have or think about. And that can also make them feel more grounded and layered and existing in the world beyond the boundaries of just the page. And then finally, consider their environment. So if you are writing something that's contemporary, think about the person's bedroom, you know, where they spend a bunch of their time, maybe their house, and what are some prized items there? Do they, like, what is a place that they love? This is also a trope that I absolutely adore. Whenever I run into it, I'm just delighted when people have this great love for a place. So I wanted to highlight Lockwood and Company's first book of 5, The Screaming Staircase. As I'm recording this, I am going to see Jonathan Stroud on his bookstore tour for Scarlet and Brown this weekend, and I am so excited. He's been one of my bucket list meet and greets for a long time because of how much I absolutely adore this series, the characters, and their place, 35 Portland Row in London. So from the moment we see the place where these people have made their home, they've decorated it, all their history is there. I just absolutely fell in love with it. It's quirky, and let me just share with you a few details about 35 Portland Row. This, by the way, is a middle grade horror series with absolutely lovable characters who are part of a psychical detection agency of teenagers who are ghost hunters trying to protect people in London from the ghost invasion. I didn't put that super well, but it is just absolutely wonderful. So at the beginning of the story, Lucy Carlyle enters the home of Lockwood and Co. And she's looking around, and we just get a quick look at the environment, and it automatically starts painting a picture for us of the people who live in that space and add layers to those characters before we even really get to meet them. So we have bookshelves of dark mahogany. The shelves have a bunch of ethnic masks, other artifacts, pots, icons, shells, gourds. narrow key table stood just inside the door with a lantern on it. Its base shaped like a crystal skull. Beyond that sat a vast chipped plant pot stuffed with umbrellas, walking sticks, and rapiers. That's like a sword, thin sword. I halted beside a rack of coats. And it goes into more detail than that. That's just a very first impression of the entryway. But I mean, for an entryway, you get an awful lot of information about the kinds of people. These are people who are interested in the kind of arcane in a way, and they are really eclectic and interesting. And it just gives us this huge insight into the characters. And the more she looks around this space and explores it and later makes it her own, it is just an absolute delight and part of just one of my favorite things that shows us the layers of these characters, their personalities, their history, their relationships with each other and with their work. I mean, there's so much to be done with just creating the environment that they are in. So yeah, those are 5 easy ways to create more layers in your characters. And these things can all be done pretty much at any skill level. What other ways do you create more layers and realism to your characters? Is there like a go-to question that you ask and then the answer kind of comes to you? I'd be curious to know what you think, so put those thoughts down below. If you're new here, please subscribe, like this video if you like it. If you want more information about my books or more resources about things like this, you can head on over to my website, carly-stevens.com. So thanks for being here. Good luck with your writing, and I'll see you soon. Bye.